Welcome to another episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I am Richard.
I'm Noah, and today we are going to be discussing the two greatest Fantastic Four movies ever made. The Incredibles.
Okay. Well, you said it would be a good intro, huh?
I appreciate that. Yeah. I love this movie right here and the sequel, Incredibles 2. And I know you do as well.
I do.
We just wanted to talk about these, and particularly, is Incredibles 2 an example of the perfect sequel?
I think Incredibles 2 is very close to being the perfect sequel. Yes.
I think it's a good sequel. I don't know about perfect, but I think it's one of the best number 2 movies ever.
Well, I tell you what, through the course of this conversation today, if you can explain to me why it's not the perfect sequel,
all right,
because we are then debating a level of excellence.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Which, by the way, before we get into it, I still love the movie. I think Incredibles 2 is a phenomenal sequel. Perfect. I'm open to having my mind. I wouldn't say changed because I haven't made it up my mind whether it's the perfect sequel or not yet.
Okay.
Let's get into it. Let's start. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen either of these movies, but one of them's like 20 years old, so you're wrong if you haven't watched it.
Stop watching. Go watch the movies. We'll wait.
It'll be here when you get back.
Okay, come on back.
Welcome back.
So,
I told you. It's a good movie, right?
Probably the best thing to note about Incredibles 2 is the time gap between the first movie and the second.
The real life one or the in-story one?
The real life one.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the creators of The Incredibles did not pump out a movie in 2 years or less for the purposes of a cash grab.
Yep.
They waited until they had the right story to tell, and we were lucky enough to have all of the original cast members still with us so that they could recreate their roles.
They all came back. They did a phenomenal job.
Yes, they did.
You could only really hear the time in a couple of their voices, specifically in Bob's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of his actor's name right now, but that's really the only instance. Everyone else sounds fantastic. Violet sounds a little bit more grown up, but Dash sounds exactly the same. Samuelljackson is fantastic, as always.
There's a little age in Samuel L. Jackson's voice. It is appropriate for Violet's voice to change a little bit because, one, she's had this maturity explosion and self-confidence and puberty. If you look at the storyline, she's a high school student. It would be appropriate for that. As it would be appropriate for Dash not to change that much.
Oh, yeah.
Although a movie... Even a short of Dash going through puberty would be hysterical.
Oh, jeez.
Hadn't thought of that one, had you?
Nope, and don't really want to think about that one. All right, so Incredibles. Let's talk about real quick the plots of these movies. Let's do a little compare and analysis of the stories, the arcs, the character development that takes place in these movies real quick. So
first of all, if I may geek out for just a moment, probably one of the best parts about The Incredibles is how many James Bond-esque movie references there are. You can see I'm a Bond fan. I have been for many, many years. And so when you look at The Incredibles, from the music, from the location, they've got the references to so many different Bond elements. The staircase that's always in Bond movies. From the Man with the Golden Gun, the filming off the islands of China with those beautiful locales they've brought to the island in The Incredibles. Did I mention the music?
Yeah,
holy
you did.
Smokes!
It's an amazing soundtrack.
So
fantastic soundtrack.
When I watched it last week, and I hadn't seen it for years, I watched it with headphones on, and I listened very closely, and the score is just absolutely fantastic, and helps so much with the telling of the tale. Bob, I relate to Bob a little bit. Not, obviously, I have no superpowers. I'm not Mr. Incredible, but middle-aged man, yeah, I get it. Struggling in life because you feel like you're not going anywhere, that you're kind of spinning your wheels. Yeah, I get it. You know, I mean, there are aspects that I'm sure there's a lot of dads who related to that, and we'll revisit this in Incredibles 2 because there's an element of Bob's life that I know inside and out that most dads don't.
Yeah.
So, so the opportunity to jump out of his day-to-day doldrums to do something new, to do something exciting.
Yep.
While the husband hiding things from his wife and getting in trouble for it is kind of an overdone Hollywood storyline, it works for the movie.
It really does.
And it works for the movie because he is faithful to his wife. Even when it looks like he's not, he is faithful to his wife.
He's being faithful.
And I absolutely love the line in the movie where he looks at his wife and says, "You're still trying to pick a fight with me, and I'm just happy you're alive."
It's so great,
you know, so I like the wholesomeness of the characters. I like Dash's frustration with having to live in hiding to not living to his potential.
Dash. Ironically, he's not my favorite character in the movie, but let's admit, Dash is ADHD, and if this is what episode 5 we're on right now.
Yes.
If they can't tell by now that I fidget and can't sit still, I am very ADHD. So I completely understand all of his frustration, the inability to sit still in class.
Which, of course,
is pure ADHD. They literally, everything, that conversation that they have in the principal's office is conversations I've had with teachers before. Like, that type of situation of being, like, not able to sit still, the teacher's frustration, you know?
How many tacks have you put on teachers' chairs?
I have not put any tacks on teachers' chairs.
But the ADHD element of it will explain the crooked shelf. The knocked over lightsaber from the last episode, which became an entire shelf takedown at the end of filming.
Yeah.
And we will have to redo it. That's why if you're noticing that we don't own a level, we'll change that.
We will. Oh man. But yeah, back to it. Mr. Incredible's character, Bob's character, is fantastic because you get this weird inverse of Bob and Helen from the beginning of the movie. In the beginning of the movie, there's those like early in their career interviews, or like at their prime interviews, and Bob's talking about, you know, I just like to settle down and have a family, and Helen's all, we're gonna leave the superheroing up to the men? I don't think so. And then you get a complete role reversal in the actual movie, where Bob is the one who's like desperate to get back into hero work and feel like he's making a difference, and Helen's like, I just want to stay home, stay underground, it's easier this way.
Well, the beautiful part of the sequel, and they took their time and they thought this through and they captured it very well, is that they in fact get this role reversal.
Another one. You get another one where Helen's like, you know, I actually miss doing hero work, and once she gets that taste of it back where it's her by herself, she gets that drive again.
And she can only do it if she knows that there's someone competent and capable taking care of her children at home.
Yep.
Which I'll tell you how...
I'm getting a phone
You are
call.
getting... Yeah.
Nope. Bye.
I hope it wasn't anybody important.
Okay.
Fiance or something.
It
anyway.
wasn't. It would have popped up.
So,
sorry.
When your mom deployed to Iraq in 2008, people asked her how she could leave her family behind, and she said they're with their father, and I couldn't do this if I didn't know that they were well taken care of by their father, which is why in Incredibles 2 I associate so well with Bob, because I walked away from my teaching career. I came home, became a full-time stay-at-home dad. My wife went to work. I know the struggles that he's facing.
Yep.
All the way down to the new math.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I mean, I get it. I'm watching him struggling on the screen, and I'm saying, oh yeah, Mr. Incredible, I've done that, and I can probably do it a little bit better. But and then you see her finding herself.
Rediscovering it. Yep.
Okay. And so, and one of the reasons why I like this sequel is you've got the family trapped by syndrome, and they're all in those magnetic, beam cuff things, and they're hanging there. And while Vi has used her abilities to just roll off and escape, Bob is talking about how I've been a horrible father, how I haven't done things well, how I'm going to do everything I can to be a better husband and father. And in episode 2, we get to see him do just that.
He follows through on his statement.
Well, and this is not. I hate the bumbling dad stereotype that's in so many sitcoms and movies and in commercials. Look, Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton was funny.
Yep.
If I had a nickel for every time I've been called Mr. Mom, oh my goodness. This idea that men are bubbling, incompetent boobs who can't take care of their families. Look at the pride that Mr. Incredible feels when he stays up and he finally figures out the math, and then he can wake up his son
and help him.
And he can help him. And the sense of accomplishment. These types of character. This character development and this character growth, this character arc, this is what makes a good sequel. A sequel has to stand on its own. It has to tell its own story, beginning, middle, and end. The characters have to grow and improve and change. Right? And really, the only character who probably didn't grow, Frozone?
He's a
sidekick.
Maybe Dash got his confidence to use his speed in the first movie, and he was pretty much the speedy ADHD stereotype for the second movie. He had his moments, but I don't really see the character development there. He's just more there for the humor of hyperactive kid.
Well, you can't break up the family. You can't tell this story and break up the family.
No, exactly. No. And that's not a big deal because it's he's the one character you expect not to change that much. I would.
Well, actually, the surprise of all of this is the character you wouldn't expect to change, who changed dramatically, and that's Jack.
Oh, jeez.
Jack is a hoot. That kid is hysterical.
Oh, man. And then we can't talk about the best character. We can't talk about these movies without talking about the best character in this movie.
You gotta be talking about
Edna Mode. Edna is the best character in both these movies. Hands down. And I noticed something.
You push too hard, darling, but I'll do it.
Oh yeah. She's very much that like fashion designer stereotype in the first movie, and they have this really I always found it funny as a kid, and now I realize just how dark of a segment the no cape segment is. It's very humorously killing off superheroes. That is dark. It's so hysterical. Fast. It's hysterical because it's so cartoony. And I'm just looking at it thinking, I don't know if they could get away with this nowadays. This is vintage early 2000s animation studio.
It is as funny as a little green creature eating eggs.
Oh, yeah. If you know, you know. You know. Everyone knows this now. But yes, Edna. And then in the second movie, she's pure comedy. Straight up comedy. Her relationship with Jack is so funny. So funny. Even she gets, I guess, a little bit of character growth, because she's kind of like, I don't want to do anything with the baby. And then she sees the powers and she's like, never mind. I'm in.
Auntie Edna.
I love the line, your fee will be, I will be your exclusive super suit designer. But watching the little one, I do that for free. I'm like, she's the best character.
Well, and the little elements that they put in the movie, such as she immediately identifies the designer of Elastigirl's new suit, and that suit immediately tears at the shoulder.
Oh, it's fantastic. But we're getting a little sidetracked, geeking out over the characters and the fun part. But we were talking about their character development over the course of the movies, which I do agree is really good. It's incredible. Pardon my pun. You do see Bob grow in different ways in between the movies, and I think that's one of the marks of a good sequel.
It is
you're not repeating the same story beats. The big issue with Cars, if I may, Cars 3, which I watched recently, it's a repeat of the first movie. It's almost the exact same movie. Lightning McQueen's struggling. You know, the difference is now he's at the end of his career. But he still has this. Yeah, he's struggling with the idea that he's about to be outdated. He's trying really hard to win the Piston Cup, and spoiler alert, he doesn't.
I won't have to see that.
Yeah, he learns that, you know, the joy is in the journey type thing. Again, it's the same plot threads, it's the same story beats hit in a sequel. Incredibles 2 doesn't. It doesn't hit the same beats. There's a new threat. There's a new issue. And we were talking about this slightly before we started shooting. I think the villain. First off, Evelyn is nowhere near as good a villain as Syndrome. Flat out.
She's not as entertaining a villain as Syndrome. I think she is a good villain. She's not a great villain.
I think she's passable. She's passable. So here's my thing. If I can compare and contrast a little bit. Syndrome, you get he's a fun villain. He's just an overgrown kid with a chip on his shoulder. All right, he's almost a pure evil villain. He's got a motive, and it's a childish motive. He never grew past the my hero was a you know.
Rejected me.
Yeah, rejected me. And, but they don't try to make him seem sympathetic. They turn him into a villain you understand. He has simple motivations. It's easy to pick up. I don't feel for him. I understand that, you know, Mr. Incredible was being a jerk to him, but you also see why Mr. Incredible he had a lot of stress on his shoulders, and while he probably could have been nicer to him, you know, he's trying to like cram all these superhero fightings into a day where he's about to get married, so he's under a lot of pressure.
On that day,
and the kid, you know, Syndrome as a kid does endanger more lives by making a rookie mistake, which in a situation he's obviously not prepared to handle.
Right.
So he took that and never let go. He took offense to it and never let go as an adult. It's a concise backstory. It's shown and not told.
Right.
Part of the reason I don't like Evelyn as much is because her backstory is told to us, it's not shown to us. It's shown in the fact that it's a flashback and you see their parents die, but it's a narrated flashback. If the movie had opened with them putting the kids to bed, like those two the millionaire parents putting the kids to bed, and having it shown on the news that superheroes were just outlawed, and then have him like the robbers break in, and he goes to try to use the telephone that he had, and the wife's like, no, let's go to the safe room, let's go to the safe room, let's go to the safe room. He's like, no, the supers will come save me, I promise. It would have worked better as a backstory. It would have worked better because they would have shown us instead of told us, yeah, our parents died because of robbers.
I like it. I hadn't thought about that, but yes, that is very good.
A show not tell backstory would have worked slightly better.
Yes.
Would have worked slightly better. The other thing that
it would have made her more sympathetic.
It would have made her more sympathetic. Which would have made her stand out more from Syndrome. Because right now what I'm seeing is genius, millionaire, wants to get rid of superheroes. Incredible 1. Syndrome. But his motives for are different, because he wants to be the only superhero, he wants to be the greatest superhero, he wants to outshine all these amazing glory days superheroes. She just wants them to go away entirely. Either way, their goal is the same. Eliminate all superheroes. Slightly different motives, but you still have a very rich genius, technological genius, trying to eliminate all superheroes.
Well, this is where the two movies follow the James Bond-esque story arc. Mm-hmm. In order to have someone possess the abilities to take on a superhero with natural powers, they've got to have a tremendous amount of money, a tremendous amount of tech, a small army, operate under the radar. It all takes large amounts of money. And so whether, you're talking about, what was it, Stromfeld in Moonraker? Was it Moonraker?
There's so...
I'm
like, what, 30-ish movies
25.
Now? 25 now?
One hasn't come out yet. you see this progression of uber wealthy industrialists who have all of the toys and gadgets in life, and behind the scenes, behind the shiny facade, the apple is rotten, and they are trying to damage the world. They're trying to take over the world. They're trying to do something. With Bond, it's always a threat against Britain. With these movies, it's a threat against superheroes.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Yep. So you kind of have to have that because if I, as a citizen of whatever the heck town they live in, I'm upset with the superheroes, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
Write my congressman.
Actually, that's essentially what they do.
So.
That's essentially the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Right, and so, and we can see how well that worked. So you have to have that. Now, Syndrome is great because Syndrome is over the top. He's two-dimensional, he's a little bit cartoonish, he's extraordinarily well acted.
He's just fun.
The enthusiasm
just
of
fun.
Elastigirl, Mr. Incredible. You got busy, which is a great line.
This is too good. It's so much fun.
So with The Incredibles 2, they're not making the villain as upfront and in your face. You spend the entire movie waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you spend the entire movie waiting for Wynn to be revealed as the villain, and they're trying to keep his sister hidden. He is clueless as to what his sister is really doing.
They really tried to set you down the idea that Winston is going to manipulate the superheroes in some way,
right?
Whereas she is very much appealing to Helen's ego. Actually, Evelyn really appeals to Helen's ego, trying to set her down. Get her rehooked on the high of being a superhero, so that she's easier to manipulate.
Right.
I guess you can say that having known that she's the villain, but in the moment, it's like she's just appealing. It looks like she's just trying to hype up Helen, and is trying to be a distraction for the fact that she's the villain.
Well, you have a couple other things going on in these movies that, and one of them goes along with what you're saying. The movies ask a lot of questions that are kind of interesting. What does it mean to be special? And if everybody is special, then nobody is special. And of course, Dash in the beginning of the first movie is looking at it from the opposite view. I am special, and you're telling me not to use my powers, which means nobody is special. You have all of these different things going on. And I would love to say in explaining with that I retained my train of thought, but I fear that I might have sidetracked myself a moment. With Helen, you've got this whole question of your role and your purpose. She doesn't want to leave everything to the men. She finally has this opportunity, so of course, the villainess is going to appeal to that. The other thing, and I find this hysterically funny, is this whole question of the fallout of superhero actions, and one of the things that they make very clear that Elastigirl is a better superhero than her husband because she doesn't leave a wake of destruction behind her. It's whatever fallout there is, unintended consequences, it's minor compared to Bob, who, let's face it, Bob is a hammer. Mr. Incredible is just this blunt force, object.
And Frozone, even Frozone, Frozone is kind of this he's kind of the underappreciated. He does save the day, kind of in both. His ice powers really come in clutch.
They are a team.
They come in clutch.
They very definitely a team.
I think you definitely see.
The question of fallout and of unintended consequences from the first movie carried into the second movie with the police and the interrogation scene. They said, would you have preferred we have done nothing? And they're like, yeah, we've got insurance and we've got infrastructure. If you had done nothing, we would have been fine.
Which does answer the question, what do you do in a world where there's superheroes and supervillains and the superheroes go away, but they're still supervillains? Well, they set up an infrastructure to take care of it.
Right.
Essentially. In 15 years, they tried to set up an infrastructure to take care of it. Okay. One line of dialogue. It's all it took to explain that plot thread. Yeah. It was fantastic. Yeah. Just another thing these movies do well is they take like a second to explain away like a potential plot hole, plot thread, problem with the with the world.
Well, the whole thing reminded me of the Martez sisters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, from Clone Wars.
From Clone Wars.
It reminds me of...
the idea that the Jedi do a lot of damage, and then they leave, but they leave all the damage behind for other people to deal with. And apparently Bob has been doing that
for years.
Completely.
Well, you see it in the opening section of the first movie, which might I say is like almost the perfect opening. You get a 10 minutes that sets up the status quo.
Yes.
It's nonstop action. It's showing the superheroes at their prime, in their element. It's establishing their powers. It's showing you what they're good at. The stakes for the movie are completely set. The collateral, the fallout of their super actions are shown equally. You see the people lurch forward on the train. You get the dude complaining about something being broken. You see Bon Voyage get away and the police being frustrated about it. You see all that set up in the first movie. And they do an incredible job of it in the second movie too, because instead of a bunch of small little action scenes, it's one big action scene. It does the exact same thing. Set the stage, show everyone working together, shows the family working as a unit, gives you what you're going to expect for the rest of the movie, and still shows the collateral and the fallout of their actions.
And they do show that Underminer is actually a genius at physics and learning how to demolish buildings, because he brings one building straight down intact so that he can walk in with a vacuum cleaner and rob it. The beautiful cartoon elements. We're doing this analysis of what essentially are two cartoons, and but the thing is that the writing is so well done. Bob is so arrogant in the beginning of the movie, and over the course of everything, you see this character reevaluate life and hit the reset button, while somehow still retaining his inner core of wanting to do good.
Oh yeah, and that's something I think is key to his character that they set up from the get-go. Even when he's at his lowest point, working in insurance, he's still going out of his way and risking his job to help people.
Yes.
And that's something I never picked up as a kid. I couldn't understand because he was going so back and forth in the insurance office. He was going back and forth between the whispering and then the blah blah. My little mind couldn't process what was going on there.
Yes.
I was so confused by it. But, going back as an adult is one of those things where it's like, oh, I actually understand that, and wow, that's really good character writing.
Yes, it is.
Showing that he's not doing this just because he wants the fame, the fortune. He legitimately enjoys helping people.
Well, and he's got a soft spot for people in need. Yeah.
He's not this hero that wants to do it for the fame, for the glory, for, he's not addicted to the adrenaline rush of the press conferences and everything. He loves helping people.
Yes.
And it manifests as crime fighting. Because he's good at crime fighting. He's good at helping people via crime fighting. That's where he gets his rush from.
He's the football player who can't play football anymore and doesn't know what to do with himself.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so now, so we've been raving about these movies for as long as we've been recording here, and we like the movies. We love the attention to detail,
the characters, the little
all of that,
Easter eggs and everything. The Pixar charm that these movies ooze.
So Incredibles 2 stands on its own in every way that a sequel can stand on its own. And so the burden falls on the prosecution. Why is this not the perfect sequel?
Well, it's a good sequel. And, over the course of talking about it, the one thing I think that a sequel, something that can elevate a sequel to almost perfect status, is it better as a movie than the original? Not do I like it better, not do I think it's better, not do I enjoy it more. Is it a better movie than the original? Because I think in a perfect world, the sequel is just as equally good, if not better, than the original. I think Terminator 2 is the perfect sequel to the original Terminator because it's better. It takes everything great about the original and makes it better. Incredibles 2, while it is fantastic and absolutely incredible as a standalone movie, as a story, it does everything right. I don't have too many nitpicks with this movie about things that I don't like about it. There's something about it, I don't enjoy it as much as the original. I don't think it's better. And I think if I had to, compare them, Incredibles 2 is just slightly lower. I don't know what it is. I mean, the animation's obviously better, the voice acting is just as good, the soundtrack is amazing. Technically, there's nothing wrong with this movie. Story-wise, it's kind of cookie cutter, but it's not horrendously so. There's nothing inherently wrong with this movie. I just think that everything this movie does, the first movie did better. It's very much a good follow-up. It is a fantastic one, even. I don't know about perfect, though.
Well, okay, first of all,
because I don't find it better than the original.
We've talked about his voice work for this whole episode.
And we just looked it up.
It's Craig T. Nelson,
yeah.
With no respect, no disrespect to Mr. Nelson. No. So, one of the things we said in the beginning of our first episode is basically you're getting a peek into the conversations that we have kind of regularly, and we forget things regularly. Mm-hmm. So that's just where we're at. I have to disagree with you. Okay. I don't think to be a perfect sequel that the second movie needs to be better. Okay. I don't think that the first movie did everything better than the second movie.
Okay.
I don't think you can do better in the first movie when the second movie has this whole different set of character development and character arc. If you're talking about the plot with the villain and the threats, okay, maybe. But what I really think is going on is that when The Incredibles came out, it was new, it was fresh, it was side-splittingly funny.
Yeah.
It was very popular.
One of Pixar's, if not Pixar's, best film ever made. I know a lot of people like Toy Story. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Incredibles is the best Pixar movie ever made, and I think Inside Out is my second favorite.
So, Inside Out was good.
We'll talk about that.
It was very good. But I don't think it did it better. I think where this might suffer just a little bit is the fact that it's not new and fresh. But true. It was such a welcome entry into.
Oh, and again, nothing against Incredibles 2. It is a fantastic film. At the end of the day, it is a fantastic film. Mm-hmm. It is a wonderful film. I would watch it just as much as I would watch the first one. And I binged these last night. I watched them back to back. They are a hoot to watch back to back. I wasn't bored for a second of it. Actively sitting there taking notes. I have an entire 4 pages of notes on these movies. That is part of the reason why this movie has gone so long. Is because I keep talking about my notes.
Gotcha.
I have way too many to cover in this video. But again, fantastic movie. I wish more creators, more writers, more studios took the time to tell stories with such passion as Incredibles 1 and 2.
Yes.
These are truly a breath of fresh air in a sea of just copy and paste movies and churned out sequels like clockwork.
Yes.
It is a treat to see someone treat their property with such respect and make it that entertaining for an audience.
There are actors who walk away from their characters, who hate their characters. Mm-hmm. There's actors who hate their characters and come back and film them anyway while talking about how much they hate them.
Yeah. Not pointing any fingers.
Yeah. And here we have a group of actors who I'm sure they appreciate the work, really, truly do a wonderful job with their characters and carry them forward and are just, they're fun.
And a director who had a vision that he wanted to see.
Yes.
And waited till he had a good story to tell.
So this is not the list. Does not make neither of these movies make the list of go-to movies when you don't know what to watch, which is something we're going to talk about.
This is something. Although,
right?
However, I highly recommend these movies anytime you're bored because they're just fun.
If you have not taken the time to watch these movies in a long time,
what's wrong with you?
If
you've never seen these movies, what's wrong with you?
Create the time to make the time to watch these because they are truly a delight. And I had so much fun going back and watching them last week in preparation for this morning. I thought, wow, it has been too long.
Yeah.
But in revisiting them, it was like so watching them for the first time again.
It's so refreshing. Yes. It's so refreshing. Well, there you have it. We're going to be a little bit split on our decision. You definitely think it's the perfect sequel. I think it's a fantastic sequel. I'm not sure about perfect just yet. I'm not sold on it. But that doesn't detract from the fact that it is a fantastic follow-up.
So let's hear your thoughts down in the comments. If you think this is not the perfect sequel, let us know why. If you agree with me that it is, let us know why. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Would love to talk to you about it in the comments section. And thanks for sticking through this video about the best Fantastic Four movies ever made.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.